Good day. So we are now going to discuss right triangle congruence theorems. Objectives for the day are as follows. So number one, we need to define and discuss the different right triangle congruence theorems. So we have actually four. So that's LL, LA, HYL, and HYA. So later, you're going to determine what those letters mean. Give additional information needed in order to prove that the right triangles are congruent by LL, LA, HYL, and HYA. So, but first, let us try to recall our idea of right triangle. So this one is a right triangle, and it is composed of the different parts. So we have here the leg, okay, and also the leg, and this one is our hypotenuse. Okay, now this is our right angle. This symbol means that this triangle is a right angle. Now there are two legs, and the longest leg is the hypotenuse. So how do we locate the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is always located opposite the right angle. Right, so that is our right triangle. Okay, next. So, what are the different right triangle theorems? So, we have actually four. So, we have the LL theorem, the LA theorem, the HYA theorem, and the HYL theorem. Let's first discuss the LL Congruence Theorem. So, the definition of the LL Congruence Theorem is that if the legs of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding legs of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Now, we are pertaining to the two legs, okay, of the right triangle. So, if we can see in these figures, we have this leg is congruent to this corresponding leg. So, that's L, okay, and then another, so this leg is congruent to this corresponding leg. So, L, L, making it LL. Right. Next. So, let's look at this. Check whether the two triangles ABC, ABC, and CDE are congruent. So, looking at these two triangles, we can say that the corresponding sides are actually equal to each other. So, we have one leg here of this triangle, which is congruent to this leg. Alright, and then another one is this leg is also congruent to this leg. So, yes, this is correct by LL Congruence Theorem. Alright, so next. So, the next theorem is the LA Congruence Theorem. So, what do you mean by LA? If one leg and an acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding leg and acute angle of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Now, let's look at these two triangles. Okay, so this illustrates actually the LA Congruence Theorem. So, this is a leg of this triangle, congruent also to this leg of the second triangle, and we have here an acute angle. Okay, so this is our acute angle A. So LA. So this is also our acute angle. Alright. Now, it is not always the case that we get only this angle because there are two acute angles here. So we can also get this acute angle here and also paired with this acute angle. So, still this represents our LA. Okay? Leg acute angle. Okay, next. We have the HYA Congruence Theorem, or in other sources, we have HA. Okay, so but for us to easily recall what HYA means, so we write HY as the hypotenuse. So, if the hypotenuse, that's HY, and an acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse, and an acute angle of another right triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So let's look at again these given triangles. So we have this side congruent to this side. Now, this is the hypotenuse. Okay, how do we know that this side is a hypotenuse? We say a while ago that for us to locate the hypotenuse, it is always opposite the right angle. So, this is the hypotenuse. This one is also the hypotenuse. Now, this is our acute angle. Alright, so HYA, this is also our acute angle. So, HYA. Now, again, it is not always the case that this is the acute angle because we can also get this one because it's also an acute angle. So, this is HYA, Congruence Theorem. So, the next theorem is the HYL Congruence Theorem. So, if the hypotenuse, okay, so HY, and a leg of one right triangle, so that's the leg, are congruent to the hypotenuse and the corresponding leg of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, let's see again. So, this one is the hypotenuse. Okay, congruent to this hypotenuse. They are hypotenuse because they are opposite the right angle. So, this leg here is congruent to the leg there. Okay, so that's HYL already. Now, again, because this triangle has two legs, so we can also get this leg to represent the HYL. Alright, so next. Now, let's look at this and apply what we have just learned. In which of the following figures could we use the hypotenuse leg? So, HYL. So, we're going to determine which of these figures show the hypotenuse leg theorem. Okay, so let's look at letter A. So, for letter A, does this represent the HYL? So, we say that this is not, okay, these are not right triangles. So, therefore, letter A is not applicable. Okay, now let's look at the second one. Okay, letter B. Okay, now we have the tick marks as guide. So this is a leg and this is also a leg. So therefore, that's LL. Now, let's look at letter C. Okay, this is hypotenuse. Okay, that's hypotenuse. Congruent also to this hypotenuse. And we can say that we have legs that are congruent. And we can say that these are the legs that are congruent. So, why do we say that these legs are congruent? Because the two triangles share the same side or by the reflexive property. Okay? So, this actually represents the HYL. So, check. But for letter D, let's look at letter D. The only clue that is given to us here is the angle. Okay, by virtue of being vertical angle. So again, this does not represent the HYL. So only letter C represents HYL. Okay, next. So let's try to apply. Okay, and determine the congruence pattern, whether HYL, LL, HYA, and LA. So given this, okay, so let's have this side AB is congruent to side DC. Now, if you're going to look at this tick marks and the parts of the right triangle, we can say that these are the legs, correct? Okay, and we have angle, angle A, DC, angle A, DC, and congruent to angle DAB. Okay, DAB. So, therefore, this is leg and this is an acute angle. So, the answer is LA. Okay, let's look at the second example. Okay, so we're only given with one side here. Okay, so FG, side FG is congruent to HG. Alright, so this is a leg. Okay, and we are given there with a clue. Okay, that this angle is equal to this angle because they are vertical angles. So, again, this is L and this is A. So, L, A. Okay, let's look at the third example. Okay, now, so here we have side MJ is congruent to side ML. And this side is actually our hypotenuse, right? Because it's opposite the right angle. Okay, now, is there another clue that is given in the figure? Okay, yes, you're right. So, we can see that this side, MK, is congruent, okay, to MK also. So, that's leg. Okay, so this is HYL. So, this is by virtue of the reflexive property. Okay, so let's now proceed to giving additional information to prove that the triangles are congruent. Now, we are given here with LA. So, meaning to say, these triangles must be congruent by LA. What is the additional information needed? Okay, so we have QR already as our leg. Okay, QR and this SR. Okay, so they are legs already. So, let's write that. QR, okay, is congruent to SR. Okay, now, what additional information, since we are getting an acute angle, provided that those acute angles are already congruent? Okay, so we can say that the additional information is this. Angle R is congruent to angle R. What is our reason? Our reason is that they are vertical angles. Alright, so that is the additional information needed. Okay, next. So, how about this one? By HYL. So, we are already provided with a hypotenuse here. Okay, so we only need to provide the legs that are congruent. Okay, so the legs, okay, that are congruent are, so AD and AD. So AD is congruent to AD. Okay, by reflexive property. Okay, because the two triangles share the same side here. So by reflexive property. Okay, so that's HYL. Okay, next. So, we have this figure and we are asked to give the additional information following the LA. So, observe first the figure. Okay, so we have legs already that are provided here. Okay, now if you can see, this one is the first right triangle. And this one is the other right triangle. Okay, now, because it's LA, we are provided by this triangle, which is isosceles triangle. Now, LA. So, the needed information must be an angle, two congruent angles. So, if we can see, we go back to our idea of the isosceles triangle theorem. Okay, so if we have two congruent sides, the opposite angles, okay, must be congruent also. So, the question is, are these angles part of the right triangles? Yes. So, let's have the additional information, our A. So, that's angle C is congruent to angle F. Alright. So, that's our additional information needed. Okay, next. So, again, by LA. So, we are already provided with the legs here. Okay. Now, since it's LA, we know that this side is parallel to this side. Okay. So, meaning to say, if we extend this line, okay, and also extend, we have a transversal here. Okay, so meaning to say, this side is considered our transversal that cuts the parallel line. Okay, so therefore, we can say that this angle is congruent to this angle. Okay, because they are alternate interior angles. Now, the question is, are they also part of the two right triangles? Yes. So, we have the leg already. We have here our angle. So, the angles or the additional information needed are angle F is congruent to angle C. Okay? So, let's have a summary of the different right triangle congruence theorems. So, we have actually the four, the LL, the HYA, the HYL, and the LA. So, this summary shows us the relationship of the right triangle congruence theorem to that of the triangle congruence postulates. So actually, your LL is the same as the side angle side. So if you look at this, we have the side, we have the angle, and also we have the side. Okay, so SAS. For HA or HYA, it is similar to AAS or the AAS. So this is your angle, this is your angle, and this is the non-included side. So that's AAS. Okay, now for LA, this is similar to ASA or ASA. This is your angle, this is your included side, and this is also your angle. So we also have the HYL, the hypotenuse leg, okay, which is separated, okay, from the three other having their similarities with the triangle congruence postulates. Okay, so that's it.